Hi, and thank you for joining us. I am Jeannie Foote from Katara Med Spa, and this is an episode of Wellness Wednesday. And I am beyond thrilled to introduce my guest today, Susan Hansted from the Institute of Possibility Thinking. Today, we're going to talk about a few topics that I think are going to be really timely and important, and so I hope you will enjoy these. Susan, thank you so much for being with me today. It is an absolute pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for allowing me to spend some time with you, and also just to see how much we have in common working together, right? We have a lot in common working with similar women and sort of some of the same issues. So I am so excited to hear where you want me to start off with this, and let's do this.
So why don't you get us started and just let everybody know who you are and what you do and what is the Institute of Possibility Thinking.
Okay, great. Again, I'm Susan Hansted, and I'm the founder of the Institute of Possibility Thinking. We are a mind share network of health professionals, wellness professionals, and then business consultants. And we provide executive leadership and personal transformation programs. And today, we are pivoting and working in so many brand new ways because of this sort of destructive time that we're in, but seeing so much fascinating change going on in an exponential sense now. So I'm super excited to share those concepts with you today.
Well, thank you. Well, let's start by talking about anti-aging, something that we fight and work with, in our med spa. But is it possible to use mindset to fight the aging process?
Yes. So the short answer is yes. Yes. And again, I think in our other discussions, I want to qualify that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a neurobiologist. I'm not someone who can actually speak to the specific research. Although, as a therapist and as an energy worker, I have the experience of seeing the difference between someone's health and wellness who works from a mindset of thriving and one that works from a mindset of fear. So the difference there, I think, really, if we were to distill it down sort of simply today, would be when we are giving our attention to fear and adrenalized state. So for instance, when we live at such high levels of stress with work and interpersonal relationships, trying to manage it all, kind of on that corporate girls habit trail, the little wheel with the hamster, then we bathe the neurosystem in neurotoxins, right? And that's what sort of steals from our health and well-being. And then when we are able to spend more time in mindfulness, in the practice of allowing ourselves to quiet the mind, work from a more neutral place, then we have the ability to bathe the neurosystem in oxytocin, in dopamine, in serotonin, and all those things that support wellness, right? So it's sort of the difference, if we were to really simplify it down, the difference between sort of feeding our well-being and our immune system, right? Our wellness, our ability to thrive, or borrowing from it. So when we're borrowing from it by living at high levels of stress and being adrenalized, yes, it steals from our wellness, right? It steals from our ability to thrive, and all the way down to the cellular level, sort of feed that life energy, the chi within us.
Well, and I love that because it really speaks to, I think it resonates a lot with women because we wear that busyness, that treadmill, almost as our badge of honor, right? So we feel like it's our obligation. We don't want to let our family down, so we have to provide for them. And, for me, I'll speak for myself. It's hard because you work all day long. You get up in the morning and I feel like I'm on a treadmill from the minute I start to the minute I end my day. Taking care of my family, taking care of my job, taking care of my clients, taking care of my coworkers, all of those people that I love and I want to take care of, but it's hard to find that time for ourselves. And so by slowing down our mind and taking that time to help, reduce or slow down, I guess, that aging process, it's really important to do that.
Yes, I think it's really important to this moment, because what you said that was so, I think, particularly important just now is you said, I wake up and I feel like, right? Yeah. And so that's where I would love to encourage us all to practice how we want to feel about those things that we need to do in our day, right? Because the list doesn't change. Let's be realistic. We have a lot of things to do, right? Taking care of children to running a business, all the things that you just mentioned. But the idea really is so perfectly as you spoke it, how you feel about it. So for instance, if we are in the habit of waking up and already being in overwhelm, right? Then those neural pathways that we have built a little groove for, a little record groove for, is so habitually in place now, right? And so we talked the other day about how possibility thinking works. And so possibility thinking interrupts that feeling belief that's based on a strategy that probably is no longer working, right? So if that's the strategy, is to wake up first thing in the morning and just already be in the, which a lot of us do, right? Already be in that place of, how many balls do I have in the air? Can I let any of them drop? Where's the other shoe that might drop if I drop this one, right? So, but if we work from that place, it really constricts our ability, quite frankly, to like tap into our internal genius, our internal creative genius. It restricts everything, literally the muscles in our body, our ability to breathe well, all constricts. And when we're in constriction, we can't come up with creative solutions. Really what we have to do is we have to open all that up, not only in our thinking, but also energetically in our body, in our biochemistry, and in our bioenergetics. We have to open that all up so that we now can create solutions and or, you know, tactics, strategies, right? Take action in a way that actually supports well-being, right? So maybe one of the things that we look at is, what is my habit of starting my day or even ending my day, right? Because those are the things that either contribute to good sleep, restfulness, right? That reset that not only is good for our physical health, right? All that resting and rebuilding that goes on in sleep, but also I think our spiritual kind of connection, right? We kind of tap back into that knowing place, you know, from that belief that all is well, I'm here for a purpose, I have a place in this world, all those things, right? To going to sleep like that and to waking up like that, that could change a lot, right? Even if you take those words, those phrases, and say, I have an important, you know, expression in the world, that starts the day with a whole different kind of attitude, right? Besides the, you know, other than that idea of how many things I have to take care of today. Because if we said, okay, we need you to just really be you today. We need you to be the best you today, to be so present to the people you work with, right? The people that you serve, the people you take care of in your family. If we just said, okay, there's just one small change I'm going to do today, is today I'm going to decide I'm just going to be my best self. Well, then that will also have meant that I probably had to feed myself. I probably had to get enough rest, or I'd have to drink my water, all those things. But actually, that's exactly what will show up as the best self, right? So all of those things contribute to our life energy. That does contribute to lowering our stress, right? And being more available to the immune system that the body so perfectly already has in place. It's already there. We just have to remember to go back to it, right?
Right.
Stop overriding it.
Oh, that's you're in my head. that was awesome. Thank you. I needed to hear that. Is it possible to achieve mindset mastery, do you think?
Yes, it's possible to achieve the practice of mindset mastery.
Okay.
So where the difference is that we never arrive at anything, right? Especially if we go back to that idea of being present. Every day we could be better at being present, but every day that we're in a mindset that supports our thriving, right? In our authentic self, which in some ways means that sometimes we're gonna have to disappoint someone. Some ball's gonna have to hit the floor, right? And let's just see what would happen to our own well-being if we allowed for some of that, right? Because what that does is in some ways it starts to break down the facade, right? That perfection or those high bars that many of us have that aren't realistic, right? But they also just serve a story that doesn't serve us, right? So the idea of looking at how do I become more present each day? How do I do the things to be more present? Then that allows us to start to master this idea of mindset, because for us, and our entry level program is called personal transformation. And so in that we always teach, what's your end game, right? How do you want your life to be? And if you're clear about that, we can move in that direction every day, and we can self-correct more quickly every single day. If you don't know what your end game is, that's where you probably have more of an issue. People who say, well, I don't really know, I'm so drowning in my stress levels that I don't know what I want. That's where we need to take some time and some self-examination, right? And really look at what feeds your soul. And when you are doing the things that feed your soul, your mindset sets you up for success in that, right? But if we spend a lot of time, there was a time when, you know, everyone was doing TED Talks on the why, right? And I'd like to just be sort of silly. I have sort of a sarcastic sense of humor. I don't care why, right? I don't care why, right? I mean, if it's the why of what you do, okay, great. Let's be really focused on doing what you want to do, right? But the why that most people just sort of do psychologically, the rumination of, why did this happen? How did this happen? Why is my boss such a jerk? Why doesn't my husband understand me? Why don't my children do as they say? Who cares? Nobody cares.
Right.
That ruminating, all that energy, it just is circling the drain. And so instead, the idea to set up that successful mindset is just to say, what is my request? What is my desire, my want and need from this minute going forward? So typically that can set us off onto action, right? Instead of spending so much time thinking about focusing on what's not working. So again, this is sort of a brief conversation, right? You know, this is sort of the 50-foot level explanation of how to be in the practice of mastering your mindset, but it's also given you maybe some ideas about how we do it, right? Our personal transformation program happens to be a 6-month program. So it doesn't happen overnight, let's just say that. Although we quickly can get quick wins when we start to make these really teeny tiny little changes just in our daily life, right? What your ritual is to go to bed at night, what your ritual is in the morning, how habitually have you been feeding a mindset of stressfulness, and how can we start feeding a mindset of well-being, of being focused on how I'm going to get what I want and need so that I can be the full expression of my authentic self. Now, does that mean we're always going to get what we want? No, absolutely not. But it means that we're going to focus more on how we control how we get what we want or need, right? And not look so much outside of ourselves, right? So some people right now in this pandemic struggle with the constriction that they see there. And again, I use the word see because then I know other people who have expanded to such a great extent that it looks like this has actually been good for them, right? You know, and some people have found, right? They've even said, hey, I kind of like being at home more often. I kind of like the idea of being the stress of me being off on having to get kids places and do things all the time. But probably even more importantly than that, there are certain people who have pivoted in this time because they are focused on what they want and need, staying in their authentic self and letting some things go that don't work for them any longer. Those are the people who are really creating this to be a successful time for themselves. Now, what's the difference? It's not that in one state it's different than another necessarily. We're in a global pandemic, right? We're all in it, right?
Right.
So it really does come down to how much of the time are you in a mindset to make it work for you? And then how much of the time are you in a mindset of focusing on what's not working for you? So that's, again, a little small, quick change. You know, sometimes when clients first come into the program and they'll say, especially during this time, that they're super frustrated, I say, no, we're immediately going to look for a celebration. And if it's only that your dishwasher is working right now, then we'll take it, right? Something's working right now. Something is. And we hope it is the dishwasher since everybody's at home, right? But really just looking for something that works, right? Because habitually we focus on what's not working, right? In fact, many people are constantly feeding it, right? They're reading articles that feed their mindset, that feed their perspective, right? That we're in this habit of saying, oh, okay, you know, and especially in this pandemic, how many people died and what states are more constricted than others, and you know, all of that some people spend a great deal of time on, right? And then there are others who say the sun is out and I can go for a walk, at least in my neighborhood, and I'm going to be in that space of just taking what is and making it work for me, however that might be.
Right. Well, and that makes me think about things that are not working. and I might be completely wrong on this, I don't know, but that makes me think of anxiety, right? So what we're consuming, you had said, what are we watching, what are we consuming? And I think about that a lot with anxiety, because there are a lot of people out there who struggle with anxiety. And I think, when we were growing up, we had to search for information. Our kids they're bombarded by it. They have to dodge it, right? And so I think that creates a lot of anxiety. But I'm just thinking about students, who have missed graduation, missed prom because of the pandemic, but are getting ready to go off to college and might be feeling some of that anxiety. What are things that you could suggest for some of those college students who are in that place and trying to kind of reintegrate themselves?
Yeah, that's a good word, and reintegrate. Yeah, absolutely. Well, a couple of things, because, we're talking about this in our programs right now, and we do have young people in our programs that are struggling with, the loss, right? Because I think all of us are in a grieving process in this pandemic. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, right? So we don't want to pretend these things are not happening. That's not the idea. The idea is to accept things as they are. I actually have a senior in high school, and he's disappointed by not being able to have the traditional things, right? But as you had mentioned earlier, we have so much information coming towards us all the time. And again, we have to choose, what do you consume, right? So there's some people who are doing fantastically creative things with this time, right? I saw one school, I think it was in the Midwest, actually, that was using the old drive-ins, where you drove in and watched a movie in your car for their graduation. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's a fantastic idea, right? And there's many ideas, right? So if that's what you're looking for, is to look for solutions during this time, then yes, you could find plenty of that information, right? If you wanted to find people who are angry about not getting the traditional thing that that they typically get, certainly we could find a lot of that too. But so here's where I would say is the tipping point. The tipping point between those two is yes, we can grieve the loss, right? And the way I see that is, we allow for that feeling, we sort of sit with it, we be with it. That's not grammatically correct, but being, right? We be with it. Like, I like to capitalize it, be. We be with it, and then we let it pass, right? Like, sort of like you see a cloud system, right? Like, we don't become the emotion. We experience the emotion, and then we let it pass, sort of like a weather system works. And then what do we do with that is we decide that we will accept as is. Now, many of even my adult clients, when they first hear that phrase, have bad words to put with it, right? They say, I don't like as is, right? But we've developed some very specific tools and very specific anchors to help people understand a process for accepting as is. We have to accept the current state that we're in, because if the more time we push up against it, the more time we're going to spend ourselves sort of in that aggravated state, right? And so there's lots of people that like to be in an aggravated state. I mean, we see it everywhere, right? If you look at there's lots of people who want to be in that aggravated state. I don't want to. So I want to spend as little time as possible there. So again, I think it's, I think it's a process. The process is to, yes, grieve and be aware of the loss of this pandemic. Yes, absolutely. And if you are someone who struggles with anxiety, learn to be with the emotion, but not be the emotion, right? We can't allow for the emotions to drive us, because in reality, we created the thoughts that create that emotion, right? So that's a tough one. I know. We could spend a whole time just talking about that one.
Right.
but so for college students, here's what I want to get really concrete. For people going off to college, here's what I would like to offer. I'd like to offer that you start a practice of being with yourself. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. There's so many mindfulness apps, right, that you can get that are free, that teach you either just to breathe or to listen to certain kinds of music. There's quite a few. If you Google free, meditation apps, one would be, one's called Headspace.
Oh, yeah.
Young people like that one. There's Calm. There's many of them, right? But to develop this practice of being with yourself, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, that can change your life, actually. That could change the trajectory of anxiety or depression or overwhelm. So that's one thing. The other thing that I would say is super concrete that people can do that are in this place of newness, right, going off to college, is to use the same things we talked about yesterday in supporting the limbic system, right? So getting enough sleep, right? Eating food that looks alive, getting good exercise, right? Being outside in the sunshine as much as you can get, out in nature, right? But also to dream, to imagine what you want, right? To make vision boards, really to lavish in the things that moving towards what you want, right? And what you need, or even memories, allowing yourself for that 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes at night to think of a place where you went on vacation and maybe what the ocean sounded like and how you enjoyed the feeling of the sun on your skin or whatever it might be. But what that does is, again, bathe that neurosystem and all those positive chemicals, right? And so then the last one I would also suggest is that anytime we can think of a time that we've already done something, it makes us a lot easier to look at something that looks overwhelming right now, right? So for instance, if one is going off to school, and that's overwhelming, new friends, new place to live, when they actually get to go, I guess. But to say, going to my first day of high school was newness, right? It was on a whole new level, right? A whole new scale for most people, right? Perhaps people have moved and that was big and overwhelming, but you got through it, right? So to really think about, I've done it before, I can do it again, right? So if people name for themselves similar things that they accomplished that were big or overwhelming at the time, but I got through that one. It's very easy for the subconscious mind, if it can check a box and go, oh, I know this. This isn't really the unknown. It's sort of similar to this, right? So kind of the things are meditate 10 minutes in the morning and at night, think about how to support the limbic system. And then lastly, think about what you've done before and that you can do it again. Hopefully those are super concrete.
That's wonderful. So just to kind of close us out and bring us full circle, that was for college students, but what about people in general? What are some steps that we could take away today, some action things that we could do today to really help get our mindset on a better path?
Well, probably a lot of the ones that I just mentioned are going to actually be applicable again, right?
Sure.
So supporting the limbic system, so super important. And if you're someone who says, oh, I find it too hard to meditate, I don't like that, right? Okay, well then there's lots of things that are free online, guided meditations that will allow your mind to be listening to somebody else's voice for 10 minutes. Or 7 minutes, whatever you're willing to give to it, right? So finding that way to quiet, because the thing that's most difficult that I find with most of our clients is getting off that habit trail, that little wheel, right, that we stay on, because it sort of feeds itself in a way, in a strange way, right? And so in order to get off of that, we have to have some habits of stopping that rumination that goes on, right? The constant busyness, the constant distraction, the constant activity. And so that 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, no matter how you'll do it, right? Even if it is that you just sit and think about a great vacation that you had, just lavish in that memory for a moment. Allow your body, because your mind actually doesn't know that you're not sitting there again, right?
Right.
We don't know the difference in your brain, right? So you can actually get so good at imagining that great trip to wherever, right? And some experience. Maybe if it's not a trip, maybe it was some great connection, a great hug one time that was like super meaningful, but just spending some time in that, right? And allowing your mind to get stuck on that thing for a few minutes then. So supporting the limbic system, again, sleep is so important, right? And restful sleep, right? So, for many of our clients, that actually probably means not drinking a bottle of wine before bed, right? Because that's pretty common. Or having some ritual, right, that helps you to slow down. Reading, many of my clients, our programs have a lot of reading involved in them, and most of our clients use Audible, but because they can't quiet themselves enough to read a book anymore, which is hard. But with that, even just listening to somebody else's voice allows the mind to like go to something, right? So having a quieting ritual before going to sleep at night, deciding that the next day is going to be a good day because of, right? So thinking about, oh, tomorrow's going to be really good because I'm going to go into it relaxed and I'm going to be well rested. Those kind of thoughts before going to bed. And then also having the ability to again, supporting the limbic system, you know, live food, exercise, doing the things that feed your soul, whatever that might be. You know, for many people, getting in nature can feed their soul, right? So making sure that that is a priority, and getting enough exercise, because that's one way to get it all out of the body, right? And then there was another thing and I just lost it, sorry. So there's support the limbic system, there's the mindset. Oh, starting to make a practice of dreaming about what you want and need, right? So most people, when they first come into our programs, they're successful, they are well accomplished, right? But some have probably done a lot of personal work, but somehow haven't made all those dots come together yet. And what we usually find is they don't know what they want. Like, it's just that simple. They don't know what they want, right? Because they thought they wanted a great job title, and once they got it, that wasn't the thing they wanted. They thought they wanted a great relationship, and maybe they've been through a few of them and none of them were perfect, right? They thought that they wanted to make a lot of money, but then they make a lot of money and that's still not it, right? And so it's actually probably more a soulful journey than all of those outside things, right? And so knowing what you want and being able to sort of dream about that, right? And giving that as a practice, giving your attention to it, right? Some people are good at doing vision boards. Some people are good at writing lists of what they want, but having it be a part of your daily practice to really focus on what do you want and need, so that you can spend more time in your authentic expression and less time in the facade of this stressful life that we've created. Does that make sense?
No, that's perfect. And that's probably a perfect place for us to end too, because I don't know how you can improve on that statement. I love it. Allowing yourself to dream about what you want. I think that's perfect. Well, I know that you have several programs for people. Tell us a little bit about, how people can get in touch with you, how they can learn more about you and what you do, and the possibility.
So the Institute of Possibility Thinking has an entry-level program, and then there's many little branches that one can go out from there. So we offer pathways that you can choose from. We always start with our personal transformation program, and information can be found on our website, which is instituteofpossibilitythinking.com. And then if there's any specific questions, we can be reached at info@Institute of Possibility Thinking. And I think the important thing to understand about our programs is that we have developed a very specific way of helping people literally change the trajectory of their lives. So kind of like we were just talking about, being able to dream and actually making that the reality instead of fixing and problem solving. And so our programs are focused on teaching people how to return to authentic self, to be in their full expression, what they came here to be and do, and to expedite that or accelerate that process based on this whole holistic approach. So again, information can be found on our website, and we can be contacted through email. The website also has a direct line, so we can certainly set up a time to talk. If people have interest in our programs, I'm happy to set up a time with myself or one of our other Mindshare professionals to talk a little bit just about what your specific issues are and what your specific interests are. So we're happy to talk with you and set up a time to, spend a few minutes on the phone and get to know each other.
That's awesome. Well, I encourage you all to check out the website and get in contact, because now is the time, if you really want to finish the year strong, finish 2020 coming out of this pandemic and really getting a hold of, your power and your mindset, this is the place to start. So Susan, thank you so much for being here and for all of your encouragement and just a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I really, really appreciate you. And I'm just so glad that we had an opportunity to meet.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's really been a pleasure, and it's been a fascinating conversation. So thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, thank you so much. You can find more about Guitar Med Spa on our website, guitaraspa.com, and find out a little bit more about who we are and what we do. But for now, stay safe, stay healthy, take care.